The invitation arrived on a crisp, ivory card, embossed with the prestigious crest of Crestwood Academy. It was addressed to Mr. David Harding and guest, and requested my presence at the annual Crestwood Academy Awards night, honoring academic excellence and exceptional achievement. My daughter, Chloe Harding, a scholarship student at the elite private school, had personally delivered it, her eyes shining with a mixture of excitement and what I now recognize as something else entirely. "Dad, please come," she'd pleaded, her voice laced with an urgency I hadn't heard before. "It would mean the world to me. I'm hoping to win something." Of course, I would go. Despite the long hours I clocked at the auto repair shop, the grease permanently embedded under my fingernails, and the lingering discomfort of Crestwood's rarefied atmosphere, I would never miss an opportunity to celebrate Chloe's achievements. She was my pride and joy, the driving force behind everything I did. Chloe's mother, Sarah, had left us when Chloe was just a toddler, chasing a fleeting dream of Hollywood stardom and leaving me to navigate the treacherous waters of single parenthood. Crestwood Academy, with its exorbitant tuition fees, was a distant, almost unattainable dream. But Chloe, with her fierce intellect and unwavering determination, had earned a full scholarship. It was a testament to her brilliance and a beacon of hope for our future. I spent weeks agonizing over what to wear. My usual work attire, faded jeans and oil-stained t-shirts, was out of the question. I rummaged through my closet, unearthing a suit I hadn't worn since Sarah's sister's wedding a decade ago. It was a bit tight around the waist, and the fabric had a slightly musty smell, but with a fresh cleaning and a crisp white shirt, I hoped I would look presentable enough not to embarrass Chloe. The day of the awards night arrived, and I felt a knot of nervous anticipation tightening in my stomach. I left work early, scrubbing the grease from my hands until they were raw, and painstakingly ironed my shirt, careful to avoid any creases. I even managed to coax my thinning hair into a somewhat respectable comb-over. When I arrived at Crestwood Academy, I was immediately struck by the grandeur of the place. The sprawling campus, the manicured lawns, the imposing Gothic architecture, it was a world away from our modest apartment in the working-class district. The auditorium was even more impressive, a vast space filled with elegantly dressed parents, distinguished faculty members, and beaming students. I felt acutely self-conscious, my ill-fitting suit and calloused hands feeling conspicuously out of place. I spotted Chloe sitting in the front row, her back ramrod straight, her eyes fixed on the stage. She looked stunning in a floor-length emerald green gown that accentuated her slender figure. She was the picture of grace and sophistication, a world apart from the little girl who used to trail after me in the auto repair shop, covered in grease and asking endless questions about engines and carburetors. I cautiously made my way towards her, feeling the weight of judging eyes scrutinizing my every move. "Chloe," I whispered, gently touching her shoulder. She turned around, her face illuminated by the stage lights. For a fleeting moment, I thought I saw a flicker of warmth in her eyes, a brief acknowledgement of my presence. But then, her expression hardened, and a look of cold disdain replaced the initial warmth. "What are you doing here?" she hissed, her voice barely audible above the murmur of the crowd. I was taken aback. "I came to support you. You asked me to be here." "I asked you to be here," she repeated, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Not to embarrass me." Her words hit me like a physical blow, stealing my breath and leaving me reeling. "Embarrass you?" I stammered, my voice trembling. "Chloe, what are you talking about?" She glanced around nervously, as if afraid someone would overhear our conversation. "Look at you, Dad," she whispered, her voice laced with contempt. "You look like you just crawled out of a garage. You're ruining everything." I stared at her, stunned and heartbroken. "Chloe, I don't understand." Just go," she said, waving her hand dismissively. "Please, Dad, just go. You're making a scene." Tears welled up in my eyes, blurring my vision. I had come here to celebrate my daughter's achievements, to show her how proud I was of her. Instead, I was being rejected, humiliated, and dismissed as an embarrassment. Without a word, I turned and walked away, my head bowed in shame. The weight of her rejection pressed down on me, heavier than any engine I had ever lifted. I stumbled out of the auditorium, blinded by tears, and made my way back to the parking lot. The grandeur of Crestwood Academy, which had seemed so impressive just moments before, now felt oppressive and suffocating. I felt like an intruder in a world that was never meant for me, a world where I didn't belong. I sat in my beat-up pickup truck, the worn leather seats offering little comfort, and sobbed. My daughter, the girl I had sacrificed everything for, the girl I loved more than anything in the world, had just rejected me in the most humiliating way imaginable. I started the engine, my hands trembling, and drove away from Crestwood Academy, away from Chloe, away from a dream that had just turned into a nightmare. For the next few weeks, I was a shell of my former self. I went through the motions at work, but my heart wasn't in it. I lost my appetite, struggling to force down even the simplest meals. I couldn't sleep, haunted by the memory of Chloe's cruel words and the look of disdain in her eyes. I tried calling her, but she didn't answer. I sent her text messages, pleading for an explanation, begging for forgiveness, but she didn't respond. It was as if I had ceased to exist in her world. My friends and neighbors noticed my distress and offered their support, but I couldn't bring myself to confide in them. The shame and humiliation were too overwhelming. One evening, as I was sitting alone in my apartment, staring blankly at the television, I received a message from an unknown number. "Dad, it's Chloe. Can we talk?" My heart leaped with a mixture of hope and trepidation. I quickly typed a reply. "Yes, Chloe. Where are you? Can you meet me at the park near your apartment? In an hour?" I agreed, my hands shaking with anticipation. I showered, changed into clean clothes, and nervously paced back and forth, counting down the minutes. When I arrived at the park, I found Chloe sitting on a bench, her head bowed, her shoulders slumped. She looked smaller and more vulnerable than I had ever seen her. I sat down beside her, my heart aching with a mixture of love and sorrow. "Chloe," I said softly, "what's going on?" She looked up, her eyes red and swollen. "I'm sorry, Dad," she whispered, her voice choked with tears. "I'm so sorry." "What happened, Chloe?" I asked, gently touching her hand. She took a deep breath and began to explain. "When I asked you to come to the awards night, it wasn't just because I wanted you to see me win something," she said, her voice trembling. "I wanted to show you off." "Show me off?" I repeated, confused. "Yes," she said. "I wanted to show everyone how proud I was of you, how hard you worked to support me, how much you sacrificed for me." "Then why did you say those things to me?" I asked, my voice laced with pain. She began to sob. Because I was scared," she said, her voice barely audible. "I was scared of what my friends would think. I was scared of being judged. I was scared of not fitting in." "Chloe," I said, my heart breaking for her, "you don't have to be scared. I love you. And I'm proud of you, no matter what." She looked at me, her eyes filled with remorse. "I know, Dad," she said. "But I was so caught up in trying to impress everyone else that I forgot what was really important. I forgot about you." "What changed your mind?" I asked. "After you left, I won the Academic Excellence Award," she said. "When I went up on stage to accept it, I looked out at the audience, and I saw all those perfect families, all those perfectly dressed parents, and I realized that none of them loved their children as much as you loved me. And I knew that I had made a terrible mistake." "You did, Chloe," I said, my voice firm but gentle. "You hurt me deeply." "I know," she said, tears streaming down her face. "And I'll never forgive myself for it. But I promise you, Dad, I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it up to you." I looked at my daughter, her face etched with regret and remorse. I saw the little girl I had raised, the girl who loved me unconditionally, the girl who had made me so proud. And I knew that I couldn't hold on to my anger and resentment any longer. "I forgive you, Chloe," I said, my voice choked with emotion. She threw her arms around me, sobbing uncontrollably. "Thank you, Dad," she said. "Thank you." We sat there for a long time, hugging and crying, finally bridging the gap that had separated us. In the weeks and months that followed, Chloe made a concerted effort to repair our relationship. She started spending more time with me, helping out at the auto repair shop, listening to my stories, and showing a genuine interest in my life. She even started inviting me to her school events, proudly introducing me to her friends and teachers. It wasn't easy. The scars of her betrayal ran deep, and it took time for me to fully trust her again. But with patience, understanding, and a lot of love, we slowly began to heal. I learned a valuable lesson that night at Crestwood Academy. I learned that true worth is not measured by wealth or status, but by the love and respect we show to those who are closest to us. And I learned that forgiveness is not always easy, but it is always possible. Chloe went on to graduate from Crestwood Academy with honors and was accepted into several prestigious universities. She chose to attend a state school closer to home, so she could continue to be a part of my life. She eventually became a successful architect, designing innovative and sustainable buildings that made a positive impact on the world. She never forgot the lessons she learned from her mistakes, and she always made sure to prioritize her relationships over her career. As I watched her receive her diploma, her face radiant with pride and accomplishment, I knew that I had done something right. Despite the pain and heartbreak we had endured, we had emerged stronger and more resilient. And I knew that the bond between a father and daughter is unbreakable, even by the most hurtful words.